too late. And it says we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week unloaded number 59. It's hard to believe this is the 59th episode of this. But with me tonight, we have first Mr. Jason Stewart. How are you tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good, Rich. Thanks for having me.
Yep, no problem. And next, we have the Kingpin himself, David Bowling. How are you, David?
All right. Good evening, everybody.
And next, we have Snob's wife, aka Stacy. How are you tonight, ma'am?
I'm doing good. Thanks for the invite.
Yep, no problem. So, we were talking about it in the pre-show. Me and Jason were anyway. Kingpin came in as we were talking about it. There's been a lot of people that have either had their shows removed, videos they've done removed, or live shows stopped just because they mentioned the name of the whistleblower in the Trump impeachment deal. I was watching a video this past week from Matt Christensen where he was going over exactly what happened with his. 2 weeks ago, they took down his live stream for mentioning the name. He writes them a email asking what's going on after he got the form letter saying this, that, and the other, the usual YouTube form letter when they take your videos down. He gets and then he gets another email from them, another form email telling them that he had threatened bodily harm somehow against somebody, which I personally had seen the show. There was no mention of, there was no threats whatsoever made. So he writes them back again, and they tell him, well, if you fix the video and do this, that, and the third, without actually telling him what needs to be fixed, because the guy who wrote him said, I don't know what needs fixed, but you fix it, and then we'll put it back up. So in his video was all about how am I supposed to fix this if I don't know what needs to be fixed because they don't know what needs to be fixed. So it's just really odd. So he goes in his live show this past weekend, not that he did last Sunday. They actually stopped it YouTube stopped that midstream because he was talking about the emails and stuff that he did on his show. He was talking about this on there, and they stopped his show midstream. And he's not the only person that's had this happen. Tim Pool who's center left, has had videos taken down where he was talking about the whistleblower and mentioned him by name. Anthony Brian Logan, who's an African American conservative gentleman, who he's had his videos taken down where he talked about the guy and mentioned him by name. It seems like YouTube does not want anybody mentioning this guy's name when all you're doing is talking about something that was in the news on your channel. And yet they tell us all the time they're not censoring. That's exactly what this is. So I'll throw it to the panel. Jason, what would your thoughts on this be?
Oh, well, I think it's clearly censorship, man. And it's crazy that they could just take this person's name who's involved in a political scandal or whatever and just block it. I mean, that's just wrong, man. I mean, they could just pick any person, any name, any subject they want and block it
in. Kingpin, what would your any thoughts that you want to throw out there?
All of these platforms hate free speech. I say it all the time, every time. A lot of times I get flack for it because maybe it sounds tinfoil hatty, but I don't see it this time. It's just plain and simple. It's censorship. You can look at back when Tulsi Gabbard called out Kamala Harris for smoking weed. She went from the number one hit thing on Twitter, whatever you call that, where everybody knows about it, to like number 6 overnight. How'd that happen? Because they played with it. They took their place for free speech and everybody, come in and have a conversation, and they throttled the news down because they were protecting Kamala Harris? No, because they were protecting the left. They're progressive leftists, and they're not our friend.
Yeah, the evidence seems to point that way. That's for sure. I mean, when you got just a slight little mention of the guy's name, and all you're doing is talking about a news article that you read, because that's all Matt Christensen did. All he did was talk about a news article that mentioned the guy's name, and they hit him for making a bodily threat against the guy.
The first documents that were released, by Adam Schiff himself, had the guy's name in there. I'm not afraid to say it, but out of respect for Rich, I'm not going to say it. Because Rich is my boy, and I don't want anything to happen to his channel. But Adam Schiff released his name in the first set of documents. The guy's name is all over the Mueller report. The guy's all over any radio station, such as Rush Limbaugh or anybody, Mark Levin. Anywhere you want to go, you can probably find it all over the internet still. So it's not like it's a big secret. And plus, the guy is already corrupt. He could be called to testify just because of who he already is, whether he's the whistleblower or not.
Exactly. Before we go any farther, I want to give Stacy a chance to weigh in if she has anything she wants to add.
Well, I mean, I just think it's definitely censorship. I mean, everyone should have the chance to say what they're going to say without, fear of, it being taken down or whatever. And, I don't know. I don't get it. I think it's retarded, but it's kind of like one of those things of, people not wanting to say certain things and, because their ratings might go up and down because of it, or, politicians not wanting to say certain stuff because stuff that's like controversy because, it may not make them look in a good light, or just certain people that are just, want to keep your free speech or take away your Second Amendment rights, or it's just retarded.
Yeah. And now I'm going to say this. You guys know I have no problem with Ghost or Clover. All of you know this already, right? But we always hear from the two of them, you got to play YouTube's game. You got to play YouTube's game. How can you possibly play YouTube's game, especially in a situation like this, when YouTube themselves say they don't know what the rules are?
Plus, they can change the rules whenever they want.
It's essentially what they did here. I mean, how many times have we seen people do videos where all they're doing is talking about a news story and they mention somebody's name and nothing's ever done, but all of a sudden, with this story, mentioning this guy's name as a threat to his person?
One of the channels I watch got a 90-day live stream strike, and he's got 40,000 some subscribers. 1,000 people watch every live stream that he does every day of the week. So it's not like he's a obscure channel. And he did a report on the Atlantic, the newspaper, the Atlantic. Didn't show them on the screen, just mentioned their name and talked about it. And he got a strike for a community guidelines strike. And YouTube wouldn't back him up for it.
Yeah, I think I know the story you're talking about. I think Tim Pool did a story on that, and I think he got a warning from YouTube for doing a story on that story. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. They talk all the time. Oh yeah, we're the place for free speech, this, that, and the other. Until you say something they don't like, and then all of a sudden, you don't have free speech anymore. Now, I don't want to go down the First Amendment road, because the First Amendment, whether people want to believe it or not, does not protect you from YouTube censoring you. But YouTube, on the same token, can't say that they're a place for free speech and all this other stuff, and then censor anything they don't, just because they don't like it. Like, you were going to say something, Kingpin?
Well, I was going to say that
Jason,
it's really ridiculous. If you just stop and look at everything that's happening around this whistleblower, first I see people that explain that he doesn't even meet the requirements for whistleblower protection. And then whistleblower protection is only protecting him from getting fired from his job. There's nothing that says he can hide his identity. Uh, his name, like I said, has been put out there. People know who it is, but at the same time, now you're going to sit there and say we can't say this person's name, but you're not even saying his name. You're just eluding them, like you can't mention the whistleblower. You know what I mean? And it's just like crazy. It's like you can't say this, and your answer is like, okay, I can't say what. What do they say? You know exactly. You can't say what. Just in the hearings this week, old Schiff got on everybody, and it was like Jim Jordan from Ohio told him, you know, that's messed up that all of us in Congress don't know who this whistleblower is, and you're the only one that knows. And that Schiff gabbled him down and said, for the record, I want it to be known, I do not know the identity of the whistleblower. As soon as he said that, every one of the Republicans there should have said that dude's name 100 times that day because you couldn't stop it. You just told us you don't know the identity of him. So how can you gabble me or get in trouble with me for saying his name? It's just ridiculous. Mentioning a person's name. I mean, come on. You know, this used to be America. Now it's just Moscow.
It's not just this guy's name. I mean, it's a whole bunch of things. Anybody says anything YouTube doesn't like, boom, they'll take you down. Like we're talking in the pre-chat as well. Acts 17 Apologetics. That's a Christian channel where they talk, where the guy that runs the channel is trying to get people to see the truth about what's going on with Islam and stuff. He does this comedy bit on his show with another, in conjunction with another channel, Fuck Have Malone, where they do what's called Muhammad's Boo Boom Room. It's a comedy thing where Muhammad's interviewing somebody, and at the end, by the time they get to the end of the show, Muhammad's all mad and he blows him and the guest up. They took down the latest one for hate speech. There was nothing hateful in the video. They took it, but because YouTube doesn't like it, they don't want people saying bad things about Islam, I guess, or Muhammad, and took the video down. I don't know if they gave him a strike or not, but since they took it down for hate speech, they probably did.
Like Kingpin was saying, you know, you're right. That all this hate speech and labeling everything that they dislike hate speech, you know, we got to find a way to stop that. I mean, that is just too much power for them. That's just not the American way. It's just not even the real natural way to be. You know, everybody's feelings are going to get hurt sooner or later from somebody saying something.
Yeah.
Even if the other person didn't mean no harm. It's just misunderstandings. It's opinions, you know. And like I said, even if you don't like her, you say something bad, it still should be under free speech. Every word should be free speech. Just every word there is. I mean, that's just plain simple.
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting to see what happens on December 10th to see how many channels are just all of a sudden gone for not being financially viable anymore.
Yeah, I saw that a month ago. That's a sneaky little sentence they stuck in there.
Yeah, I mean,
Logistically, I don't think that that's a problem because you'd have to assume that if they took and wiped all of our channels out that are under, say, 1,000 subscribers, monetization, all that kind of stuff, and they just zapped every one of them off, that's more than 3/4 of YouTube's population right there gone, which is a bunch of their customer. Because when you get an ad on your channel, who is watching it? A YouTube fan, somebody who hangs out on YouTube all day watching YouTube videos. And then you got to assume that when I go to start my channel tomorrow, am I going to have to fill out some type of application? And then if so, you mean to tell me that they're going to take 100 million applications on the first day? You know, how it will just be, let's say 10 million. 10 million people pick up YouTube and figure, okay, I'm going to try to start a channel today. So they're going to go through 10 million applications after the first day. You know, I mean, I think it's just not that they're going to do a broad swipe across everybody's channel, but they're going to pick and say, okay, here's a block of channels. These ones we can put up with, these ones we can't. Zap. You know, I just don't think they're going to take a broom across everybody's channel because that would destroy their platform.
No, I don't think they're going to take a broad brush and just sweep everybody aside. But Carl on In Range TV, it was either this week or last week. It was when they came out with this new terms of service. Did a video on that, and he brought up a point. What's to stop them from taking a channel that puts out content that they don't like and just deleting it, saying, "Well, they weren't financially viable anymore." That's the really scary part, because now they put that in there. All they got to do is say, "You're not financially viable," and no matter what your content is, they can just say, "Bye bye, you're gone," and just say, "Well, you weren't making us money, whether you were or not." There's no recompense, no way to prove otherwise to them, and boom, you're gone, just because you may have said something they didn't like or put out content they didn't like, and they can now use that as an excuse why they can get rid of you at a moment's notice. That's the scary part. He put it, how did Carl put it? He called it like YouTube sharecropping now. We're not content creators anymore. We're now sharecroppers, which, if you know about sharecropping, basically you rent a space from somebody else to do your little farming, and if they just say that you're not financially viable to them anymore, they can take your plot of land from you. That's what basically what sharecropping was, and that's basically what YouTube is going to make all content creators going forward with that policy change on December 10th. That's the scary part.
See, if we had a true free market system, there'd be a fix for that in the pipeline already, maybe 2 or 3 of them. But since there's so many miles of red tape, bureaucracy, and crooked politicians to go through, having competition come up and say, "Hey, look, YouTube sucks now. My place doesn't suck. Come over here and check it out." That's almost impossible right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gary's out there now. Gary, I believe you have a link if you can or want to jump in and give us your thoughts on it. I mean, we're just throwing out stuff right now based on what YouTube's done lately and with the policy that they're instituting and everything. I don't know if you've heard the whole show or not. So, but yeah, I mean, this whole policy change combined with what they're doing with anybody saying the name of the whistleblower, and if you say something they don't like about Islam and all this other stuff, all of a sudden, boom, they're just going to smack you. And then on the same token, have the CEO of of YouTube, saying that how they're open and free and all this other stuff. They're lying. They're lying through both sides of their face. Anyway, are you back, Stacy? You got anything you want to comment on real quick? Any comments you want to add if you are, before we maybe move on to something else?
I'm back, and no, I don't have any other comments. I did earlier, but I forgot.
Don't you hate when that happens?
I know. I had like a whole thing I was going to say, and then I was like, got up to go do something real quick, and it went completely out of my mind. I'm getting old.
It sucks. Getting old sucks.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So do we want to keep on this and give Gary time to be in, because he said he'll be in here in a few, or do we want to move on to something else and then come back to Gary if he wants to talk about this subject after he gets here?
Sure.
I say we move on, and then when Gary gets there, you can give him a long section to catch up.
All right. So any of you have anything you want to talk about? Because I'll do this every show, we'll throw it out to the panel, see if they have anything they want to talk about. So, any of you three have anything you want to discuss? Anything that you've seen that you thought was interesting, or I mean, maybe you, Stacy, saw something in Wanamaker you thought was interesting, or anything along those lines?
Not really. I mean, I didn't do as much at Wanamaker as I usually do. I was kind of really tired and wore out even before it started. So, besides my, trying to find a Kimber, I mean, that's about all I did all weekend.
How close are you to getting that at this point?
Well, that was their goal. I mean, they were trying really hard to try and find a decent price one, and I found them and seen them, but they were a little bit more spendier than I wanted to spend. But he's found some online that I think he's considering. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if I have one for Christmas.
So you're expecting one to be under the tree, is what you're saying?
Pretty much.
If you said that, you ain't getting one.
He'll still do it.
All
I
right.
forgot he was
Dealer
listening to the
has
show.
one. My dealer has a Bel Air. I checked it out. Pretty nice. He has the 380 one, but I think it's really neat looking guy. I like the top is like chrome. It's not just like silver. It's chrome.
Yeah, it's really nice, and it feels, and even just holding it, every time I've gone and I've held it, it just feels awesome in my hand. So, yeah, I like everything there is about it. So, just got to get one and shoot it.
But yeah, we're all pulling for you to get it because we keep getting on his case about it.
Yeah, but he's got to realize too. Once I get the 380, then the next goal is going to be get the 9.
A match set, right?
Yeah, and then maybe I might even go and get the sapphire. It's not exactly the color I like, but it's still pretty.
Hey, the last time I was at that gun shop, that's the little general store, which Kingpin knows where that's at now because we drove right by there when we came back from the DC rally. They had a nice Taurus 1911 in there, which had like a blue chromed upper receive. The slide on that was like a blue chrome. Oh, that was beautiful. So if the Kimbers looks anything like that, dude.
Yeah, that Taurus, that blue on that is pretty. It's like a see-through blue, like a translucent. It's neat how they anodize that.
Yeah, you can see like it's like a stainless steel slide with, like you said, it's almost like a transparent blue where you can see the stainless through the blue, and it just gives it a really cool look to it.
And what is this? I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's a Taurus 1911. It was a PT 1911.
There's one
really beautiful looking.
I'll have to ask him, or he can put it in the chat. There's one that he showed me that looks real similar to the Bel Air. That's a different. Oh, Springfield, he said. But Traders for Tammy. What? I don't know. Oh, they named that one Traders for Tammy. But I wouldn't mind getting the Bel Air and then getting one of those, the Springfield or whatever, and doing a comparison video. Or one similar to it or something. I've seen the little knockoff ones. I think there was one at, I don't remember if there was one at Wanamaker that was Ruger, maybe? They had a similar look to it. And the SIG. So even still doing a comparison video on something like that would be kind of cool.
If you want to talk to somebody about Ruger 1911s, Kingpin has one.
I think Jason has one now too.
Does he?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, I didn't know you had one, Jason. I knew Kingpin did.
I think it's well worth it. definitely buy the Ruger.
It'd be cool if the
Yeah,
Ruger had the slide.
1911's gun.
It'd be cool if
Ruger's built very well.
yeah, it'd be cool if they had an SR 1911 with that slide like what that Taurus has. That Taurus slide is just beautiful. I've never seen a shade of blue quite like that on a firearm before. That was a beautiful shade of blue on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you really would call that, but it's almost like a chrome blue. It's almost like a see-through blue. Maybe something like you'd see like some nice custom car parts or something made like that. Like you still could get like valve covers and air cleaners and stuff that color. Maybe some motorcycle parts or something. I don't know if that's anodized or how they do that.
It's not anodized because
Yeah,
anodized
it's
would be
definitely
aluminum. It would have to be like some kind of paint or Cerakote maybe. I don't know if you can do like a transparent Cerakote, but you can do like a transparent paint. It would have to be, or just blue. You can mix different colored chromes too. So I don't know how they did that, but it was how it's done. But it's really shiny and it's really pretty shade of blue.
Yeah, I remember you could get like Moroso valve covers and air cleaners and stuff that same color.
You probably could if you had one and were able to take it to the shop that was going to do the work. They could probably color match it. I've seen colored chrome on bikes before. So, Kingpin, you put in the internal chat. Did you have something that you wanted to talk about? So, yeah, I had no problem talking about that.
That's I was asking Stacy that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just now seen it. What was it? The stun gun I bought, which is it's a pretty baby blue color too.
Did you buy it for the fun of it, or did you buy it for like a specific reason?
No, just for like on times where I either don't have my gun, just for another means of defense, and also someone makes me mad. It's good. It's a really good tool for that too.
So you got it for disciplinary reasons.
Yeah.
Hashtag viral video.
Oh yeah, it'd definitely be a video. But no, just sometimes that I either don't have my gun with me or whatever, I'm gonna be out. But I keep forgetting to put it in my purse. It's been sitting here on my desk, so I need to put it in there and stuff. But just something else. Besides having a knife on me or whatever, it's just another means of some type of protection so I can And I've been wanting to get one for a while, and so seeing it there, and it was like 2 hours before the show was going to end, and I really hadn't bought anything. So I bought my daughter some knives, and same place I ended up seeing this. I'm like, you know what? I'll get that. So even with 3 knives and the stun gun, I spent like $35, $40. So, but
that's a close combat. Like that's just the electricity between the two probes. It doesn't shoot out the little flares or whatever.
no, it's just the you got to be close to them.
So where's the best place if it's, say somebody comes up to you and grabs you, and where's the optimal place to stick it at them and shock them to get them off you?
I could think of the perfect place for a guy.
Well, yeah, I'm serious. That's what I'm asking. I'm not trying, like, where would be the best place to stick it on somebody and say one zap is going to do the trick. I don't want to have to zap you 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of, depends on what's accessible. Depending on,
Well, I guess, yeah, if it's summertime or if it's 7 degrees outside, they're going to be dressed differently.
I figure if I can get to it and it's the best place for a man, groin would be the best place.
For the most part, it's pretty much wherever you can get the fastest and the easiest, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, because by then it's gonna be close contact, and it's gonna be more of a matter of, you know, giving you a chance to get away, pretty much.
put some distance between you and the perp.
Yeah. I mean, it's not very often that I don't have my gun with me. Like even when I went to Texas yesterday, I was on my hip the whole time. So, but if there's ever an option, or I can't have that gun. I know in Oklahoma, even if it's a gun-free zone, it's not illegal. All they can do is ask you to leave.
That's if it's private business.
Huh?
That's only if it's a private.
Yeah, private business. Like, and stuff. But I don't know what that regards to, like when I was in Texas or another state. But if for some reason I had to leave it in the car, I would at least like to have that and stuff. But in some states, I don't know if you can even have the stun gun. So that's something I'm gonna have to figure out and research too.
A question out in the chat was, do you have to make skin contact?
I think so on this one.
No, I know somebody got it like through their T-shirt, and got
Yeah.
in the middle of the back or tied at the back, and it took meat out of their skin where there's two pros.
Well, I don't think it's much different than this. Much different than the one Armentia had,
No.
and it went through your shirt, didn't it?
Oh
Yeah, it went through your shirt and stuff.
It'll go through, like Clover was making a mention of it out in the chat. It'll go through your apparel. It's just not going to be fully. If you can get skin contact, that's where it'll be most effective. And obviously, the more layers of clothes you have to go through, the less effective it's going to be. But don't let that stop you from putting it on somebody's blue jeans and giving them a zap.
Oh yeah,
I
and
think in
like I
the
said, I mean,
neck
there's
would be a good spot.
and I would think places like maybe like your neck. I'm trying to think of what other spots that might be a little more sensitive to a jolt than any other spots. But
I mean, if you can get near the wrists, I would imagine, because most places, at least even if they got gloves on, between the jacket and the glove moving, that wrist is going to be exposed, and that can, if you can't use your hand, they can't grab you with it.
yeah, and it came with a little pouch, and this little pouch has a little belt loop at the back on the back of it, so I can also put it like on my belt. It's got a little loop back there for it.
How do you think that it would give you? Say you had your gun with you and your taser, and somebody grabbed you. Do you think that you would go for the gun first, or would you think about grab the taser, get them off me, and then get my gun out?
Probably just depends on the circumstances. I mean, if I'm able to get to my gun first, that's obviously what I'm going to go for.
Right. Okay.
So it just depends on what I'm able to get to and probably the circumstances.
Yeah, G website there said if you hit in the wrong place, all you're going to do is charge their cell phone real fast.
Yeah.
I don't know if they work that way.
I got someone in there that could be a perfectly good guinea pig.
Yeah. Anyway, I was going to say, I don't know if it would recharge the cell phone, might burn it out.
Yeah.
And we've been joined by Gizzard Gary. How are you tonight, Gary?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no problem. So, you were listening earlier when we were talking about the YouTube thing. You got any thoughts you want to add to what we were talking about that?
Well, what I was trying to say earlier is, I mean, it's their platform. They've always had the right to get rid of any channels they want to for whatever reason they want to. Just because they actually put it in their guidelines and stuff doesn't mean it's the first time. Oh no, they're going to be able to do this to us. I mean, let's be real. It's their backyard. They can kick out whoever they want to kick out, and they have. I mean, people like James Yeager and stuff like that. They've lost entire channels. So, I mean, yeah, they stated it, and I think a lot of that's because of all this kid video stuff that's been in the news the last month or so. As to whether or not it's going to be a mass exodus of gun channels, I doubt it. That'd be an awful lot of loss of revenue to them, but I don't really think it's anything to panic over. That's just my opinion.
That's why we have you.
I don't make it right, but that's my opinion.
That's why we're all here, just to give different opinions on things. You know, it wouldn't be a discussion if we all thought exactly the same.
Yep. I mean, if they decide to get rid of us, then we're going to have to take action at that point. But crying the sky's falling when it hadn't even fell yet, it ain't going to make any difference. If that's what they want to do, nothing we're going to do or say is going to stop them. So we just always need to be ready, flexible enough, have backups on other platforms and stuff like that. If you get whacked, then you haven't lost everything. I've always been an advocate of doing that.
Yeah, it's always good to have a backup plan. That's for sure.
That's true. 2 or 3 of them, actually.
And that's why we ended up. Some of us were doing StreamYard for a while, and then we ended up on the Chamber because we had to have something to back up because we all knew that Hangouts was going away, right?
And I know my videos are all on GunStreamer. They're all on YouTube. Quite a few of them were on GunTube. I presume they still will be when GunTube comes back. And now several of them are also on Full 30. So I got videos all over the place.
Now, as I don't know if you were listening to what we were just talking about with Stacy and her stun gun, you have any thoughts on that particular subject?
As to what she ought to do with it, or
whatever?
It depends on how ornery some of the people in her life are, and whether or not there's a necessity of using it or not. Just remember, you probably don't keep that with you 24 hours a day, and someone else might be able to get a hold of that and use it too. So,
Yeah,
Now-
he's not. He won't.
Yeah. Now you were there when she got it. Can you confirm or deny whether it was tested on a certain person before she bought it?
that I have no knowledge of. I just remember she having a box and showing it to me. And so I can confirm she got one. Whether or not she actually tried it on somebody, it wasn't me. I can tell you that much.
Not yet. I am reading this thing that was in the box, and it says using it in self-defense. And just saying, if you can, however, aim for the upper torso. Should be your primary target if you can. And it says touching the attacker for 3 to 5 seconds will cause loss of balance, mental confusion, and disorientation.
Well, the thing about, the upper torso is most of the time a male is going to be wearing less clothing above the waist, thinner clothing. So it's a lot easier to get to their skin that way versus, down below where you've got to go possibly through a pair of jeans or something like that.
Yeah. Plus it's probably a bigger area, broader area to try and aim for pretty much.
You could always try it out on a beagle.
Oh, what? No.
Yeah, you keep spending.
Unlike Snob, I really, 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 really love my beagle.
You keep saying stuff like that, Gary. She might just come to Kansas and test it on you.
Yeah.
She knows where I'm at too, unfortunately. I've seen them up in these parts.
Yeah. I would try it out on probably any one of my kids. Snob. But not my dogs.
There's plenty of cows around there you could try it out on.
Ooh, I could.
And the cow might kick.
Well, I mean, if they're in the chute, there's probably not much difference in using the hot shot. Maybe a little stronger. I don't know.
It may not even be big enough to do anything to her. Okay, I don't know.
It might just irritate the cow enough to where.
I've never owned one of those things. I have seen them in stores and stuff like that. I say it's better than carrying a sharp stick.
Yeah, anything's better than a sharp stick.
Bad thing about it is most of the places that ban guns also ban those things too. And mace, pepper spray.
Yeah, well, most of what I've ever seen is, gun free. Usually does not hardly ever say anything else.
What kind of battery system does it have? Like Duracell batteries, or is it like a USB charger, or what?
It's rechargeable?
It's rechargeable.
Okay. Probably lithium ion then.
Yeah, which it doesn't come with the charger, so I'm assuming maybe like an Android charger. I don't see a charger.
Maybe it plugs directly into the wall, possibly. It may have a little flip out prong plug that
Yeah, there's something down here at the
you
bottom.
always open it up and read the manual and learn all about it.
Yeah, it's got a little plug in down here at the bottom. You put this out and just plug straight up in the wall.
There you go.
Well, I read a little bit of that. It just has a little tiny piece of paper, but I seen the thing at the bottom. I just had it.
You could always try it out on your own leg and see if you can feel it.
Nah, I'm good.
That's what my daughter told me one time. We had some airsoft pistols and I was going to shoot one of the cats with it. And she said, I'll tell you what. She said, take your shoe off and shoot yourself with a bare foot. She says, if you do that, then I'll let you shoot the cats. I'm like, no thanks.
Well, speaking of airsoft, there's been countless times that somebody has shot me with an airsoft on purpose, not accidental, on purpose, along with getting shot with a nail gun. So he totally deserves to get tased.
If you don't think airsoft can hurt, try it again. I mean, it's smart. It's not going to penetrate skin or nothing, but it's still
Yeah, it was still
300
pretty bruised.
300 feet per second or better, It's,
Yeah, airsoft can leave some bruises on you, just like paintball. People think, oh, paintball's nothing. You ever been
I've
shot
seen
with one?
bruises from paintball.
Snob's been trying to talk me into going to do paintball, and I said, I'd rather go do laser tag. I said, he's like, the paintballs don't hurt. And I said, not from what I heard. Like, I don't know about
they
paintball.
do. If you get hit someplace where you're not wearing the pads, paintballs hurt.
Mm-hmm. Of course, when we was kids, I didn't do it, but I know of some kids who got shot with a real BB rifle, and they hurt.
Yes, they do.
Because
But
we didn't have airsoft when I was a kid. You had a BB gun.
Yeah, we didn't either. And if you want to count those spring-loaded little toy ones that kids got that looked like what was that one big pistol?
Yeah, if you were lucky, you got shot with one of those rather than a pump gun. Those pump guns was serious.
Well, the thing I'm talking about, it was almost like an airsoft, but it was before airsoft. It was marketed as a toy gun. And they shot those little plastic balls out of it, but they would only go like 5 feet.
Yeah.
And half the time the things didn't work.
We used to have them spring-loaded dart guns, and those things shot those darts pretty hard. And then if you took little rubber tips off of them, you can really hurt somebody with one of those.
Oh, yeah, we had those too. And the little bows and arrows with the suction cups instead of an arrowhead.
Yep. We wasn't the smartest kids back in the day. But.
Yeah, no, we definitely weren't. See, toys weren't much different from the 60s going into the 70s, to be perfectly honest. We probably had some of the same toys just by the time
it was pretty much game on, 60s and 70s, yeah.
Yeah, well, by the time you got to the 80s, that's when Transformers and stuff like that started coming out. But, you had G.I. Joe, we had the $6 Million Man,
Yep. And Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah. Yeah, all that stuff was still around in the 70s. So.
Yeah, I had a GI Joe, but he was a big GI Joe. He was the size of a Barbie doll.
Yeah, I mean that's where the $6 million man dolls were. They were the size of the GI Joe that you would have had, and only the $6 million man figure I had a little like hole in the back of his head, and you can look through. It was like a little magnifying glass kind of thing because
Oh,
he had that
cool.
telescopic eye. So,
I remember that. Yeah, you could look right through the little hole in his head. Yeah.
yeah, and I had the Sasquatch too, and it had the button where you push it and the chest will pop off, and you can see like the electronics inside because Sasquatch was a robot.
I don't remember that one. I had the larger GI Joe one, and I had a Lone Ranger that had a horse.
And remember the Evil Knievel motorcycle? You put it on the thing, you cranked it, and then you push a button, and it would take off.
Oh yeah, the Evil Knievel stunt cycle.
Yeah. I had the Chips dolls too. Punch and John, and I had the helicopter with them and the motorcycles. But, the Chips dolls, they were about the size of the GI Joe was too. The old GI Joe. Oh, yeah.
So did you have all the lunch boxes to go with that stuff too?
See, I had a Marvel Comics lunchbox. I had a Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox. Remember,
That's
I had
back
one
when
other one.
lunchboxes were really cool.
Once you got older, though, you couldn't put much in one of those lunchboxes.
No, not really.
Especially if you had the thermos in there. The thermos took up over half of the space.
Yeah, it did.
With the thermos in there, you were lucky if you could get one of those like snack pack puddings and a sandwich in there,
Yeah.
And this was back when the snack packs were in a can, not the plastic.
Yeah, I remember that.
My brothers had one of my stepfather's old toys. He had an old it was a lever action rifle, and it had these little bullets that you would put in there, and it would feed the bullets when you were racking the lever on it. It was really cool. It was one of his when he was a kid back in like the late 50s, I think, is when that was made.
I wish I still had my old BB gun. I saw they had those Red Riders in Walmart. I almost bought one.
Oh man, they got a bunch of those in Walmart. They had them on the floor of Walmart here, just as a display. It's like it's a whole crate of them just sitting there on the floor.
Yeah, I wonder how many of those are going to go to kids. It's probably going to be grown-ups buying them.
Yeah, people buy them because of Christmas Story, right?
Yep.
They did have, if you remember a few years ago, they actually had a Christmas Story version of that where it actually had the compass and the thing that tells time in the stock. The ones that they sell normally don't have that, but this was a special limited edition Christmas Story version that actually had that on it. I wanted to get one of those and just didn't have the money to get one because they were a lot more than what the standard model is.
Black cats out there.
So was there anything at Wanamaker that you left and you wish you would have got it and passed it up?
Not really. I mean, I got what I came for. I got the AR, and I was searching for an elusive Star BM mag, which are really hard to find. And believe it or not, with the help of Obnoxious One, who spotted one, I came away with one. So I was pretty darn happy about that. Because I was told by some of the guys in there, he said, you probably got the only one in the entire city of Tulsa. So paid $45 for it, but that's fine.
Nice.
So I was pretty happy. I bought some ammo and stuff. I spent some money, not a lot. I didn't buy as much stuff as some did, but
Snob.
I had everything that's on my list.
Yeah, I spent like with food and everything. I spent like maybe 50. Yeah, Snob spent a lot more.
RL's out there saying his brother-in-law carries the Christmas Story Red Riders in his hardware store.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've thought about buying a Red Rider before many times. Maybe I'll get one for too long.
Yeah, my son has one. He wanted it.
I plumb forgot about it, or I'd have got one this weekend.
Yeah, he got one for Christmas. I mean, what year was that? I think when he was 16. I think is when he got that one. Then when he was 18, he got an SKS, and then when he was either 20 or 21, he got his 1911. The SKS and the 1911. Yeah, the SKS and the 1911 were actually birthday presents, but the Red Rider was a Christmas present.
Colt's got a couple new 1911s out I'm kind of interested in. Last year I bought a competition Colt. It's a two-tone one. It's the black, the blue slide, and the stainless frame. It's sort of on the lower end of the scale of the Colt, so it didn't have any checkering on the front strap or anything like that. Well, this year they got the same gun and they added checkering to it front and back, and it's just called like a competition plus or something. As soon as I saw that, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to try to get one of those.
No, I think about it. I think my son got his SKS before I got mine. Mine's better though because mine's original. His is a Bubba. But it's what he wanted, so.
Weston's playing dominoes with his kiddo. That brings back memories.
Used to do that too. Used to play dominoes.
Love to play dominoes, yeah.
Yeah, the problem with teaching kids how to play dominoes is that they lose the dominoes.
Hardly anybody ever plays it anymore. I don't know why, because it's still fun.
And then instead of wanting to play the domino with, play the actual game, they would just want to set them up and knock them down.
Well, that's fun too. Yeah. I won't say I didn't do that. Make a big long line of them.
Mm-hmm. And then see if you can do one of those crazy like Rube Goldberg devices with the dominoes where you go do different things.
Oh yeah. Because you see it on TV. It's like, I could do that.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Rube Goldberg devices, did anybody ever have a mousetrap game that worked?
Yeah, what do you mean work? The stealing went down the tubes and it knocked the basket down on your little game figure there?
Yeah, we owned a couple of different ones. Yeah, the board game, the mousetrap board game. We owned a couple of different ones of those things, and the thing never worked. Never had one of those things work once.
You remember those Rock'em Sock'em robots we used to have that you could knock the head off one of them?
Yeah, you can still get those. There's a toy store in Winchester. Virginia, in the mall there, Apple Blossom Mall, where they sell like some of the old. They still have some of the old toys. They're like but they're new manufactured. And one of the things they have in there is the Rock'em Sock'em robots. And then they had a couple different ones. They had a Rock'em Sock'em robots. It was the same thing, but it was Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader was the one that they had. Then they had another one. It was Optimus Prime versus Megatron, and then they had the classic. So you can still get those, and you can get them in like different theme sets too. So it's really cool.
Then we had those football games where all they did, it was a vibrating surface and you lined up all your players and stuff. Then you turn the switch on and then.
And
I had one of those too.
Yeah, the old horse racing, the tin type horse racing game. You remember those things? Where you would wind it up, flip the switch, and see which horse would go faster.
I also had toy trains, and I had the race car set too.
Yeah, Walmart's got some of those slot car type race car tracks sets in it now for this Christmas in the store, which was pretty cool. I thought about grabbing one of those, but I didn't. Probably drive the cat. I can just see the cat now trying to get the cars and knocking off the track. That Siamese we got, man, he is extremely playful. He would go crazy with that slot car track. I guarantee it.
I know a few years ago I come across a Christmas train set, and I used to set that up every year. And Cat I had at the time, he was fascinated with that thing. But
my wife, Tyco trains.
What's that?
You remember the Tyco brand trains?
I remember them, yeah.
Yeah,
I have every one of. I have it all. I have the biggest Tyco train collection you ever saw ever.
Yeah,
I have.
You never really get too old to play with trains.
eBay.
Yeah, Tyco used to do everything, man. Tyco had the train sets, the slot cars, the RCs. Everything was Tyco at one point.
Well, I don't have every single engine, but I have a lot of them, and I don't have every single car, but every single building that they ever made, I have almost every one of them, but a few brand new, never been opened. And then I have all of them again that have been opened, and have just a few here and there that maybe somebody else put together. But I have all the action sets, all the action cars. I got all the board layouts, several of them. I mean, I just got this hugest mass of video that you've ever seen in your life. I got like the catalogs for Tyco, and I have 1, 2, or 3 of every single thing in it. And it really didn't cost me a whole lot. I just got into them for a couple of years through eBay. And I mean, the price kind of comes and goes with like a market on them. But I can't even buy anything anymore because I already have it. And I don't even know. And I'll find things on eBay, and I was like, oh, I've been wanting one of those for years. And I'll buy it, and it'll come, and I'll get it, and I'll take it down to my basement, and I'll set it down right next to like 2 or 3 that I already have. But I got enough buildings; it would take me years to glue everything together. Yeah. I got it all. I got everything is completely Tyco. I got brand new track. I got all different controllers. I just got it. Everything they got.
Yeah. No, you should have seen my friend's basement when we were in high school. We took over the basement at his mother's house, and we turned it into a GI Joe battlefield. The little 3.5-inch GI Joes. We had one side was all Cobra, and the other side was all GI Joe, and we had it set up to where eventually we were going to turn the lights out, and Toy Story was going to happen, and they were just going to wipe each other out. We had cardboard buildings and stuff set up for him to hide behind and stuff. I mean, it was crazy. His mother came down to the basement when we were putting it together the one day. She's like, "What in the heck are you doing to my basement? How am I supposed to get to my washing machine?" I mean, we had GI Joe toys everywhere down there. We had the planes. We had them strung from from like the joists. 'Cause you know how basements are. You got the exposed joists instead of a ceiling. We had the planes hanging from the joist by string and stuff. You had to watch where you were going, and next thing you know, you were gonna get hit in the face with a sky striker. You know.
I saw a nice GI Joe holster from that Savoy leather. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
I was at their website, and one of their options is GI Joe, and you can get it in like a black green leather. I seen that, and I was like, man, that looks pretty cool.
What about the old wind-up cars? You know, those things were. And by the time, but when what was it? When Dukes of Hazzard came out, and they had the ones that were like a little, you would wear them on your wrist like a watch, and you would wind it up and push the button, they would take off. What the heck do they call those things? Like wrist bracers or something? I had the General Lee one of those. You just wear it and wind it up, push a button, and it would just go. And then they came out with the penny racers, where they were a pullback car, but you put a penny in there and it would like set the weight off or something, and it caused them to like spin in circles and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I remember those do wheelies. They were just like about like an inch long little car.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about the size of what the wrist racers was too, but they were wind up, and you would wear it on your wrist, and you could wind it up and push the button on there, and there would be like a little track that would come down, and you would set your wrist on the ground or whatever, and it would just go taking off down that little ramp and just go flying across wherever.
Out there in the chat, 38 Super Parties, and you mentioned the Stomper truck. I remember having lots of Stomper trucks.
Black Cats out there, you need some lawn darts. Yeah, we had lawn darts too. I mean, anymore, lawn darts are considered a deadly weapon now. So. I had the Dukes of Hazzard board game too. Now that I think about it, you could either take the highway, which was the hard way because it was shorter, but it was harder because that was the one that would have all like the speed traps and you have to go back so many spaces and stuff on it. Or you could take the dirt road, which was the Duke's way, which was the easy way. It was the easier way, but it was longer to get to the finish. And the idea was one person basically would take the highway, the other person would take the dirt road, and the idea was to beat the other person to the finish line. I don't know if you guys ever played that or not.
Mm-mm.
And speaking of Dukes of Hazzard, John Schneider, the one who played Bo, has his own channel on there. He talks about the old stuff that happened on Dukes of Hazzard, his YouTube channel that is. And one of the reasons why him and the guy that played Luke left the show is because they refused to put their faces on the boxes for the toys, which hurt their royalties. So they weren't getting any money for any of the toys or anything. And that was a violation of their contract. But they would still put them on the store displays, and that was one of the reasons why they left the show and why you had the replacement Dukes for 18 episodes. Or however many it was. Yeah, the fake Dukes.
I remember them.
Yeah, it was all over but it was mostly over the toys. It was one of the biggest reasons why they had that contract dispute, because they were not getting paid what they were supposed to in royalties because they refused to put their faces on the toys. What other cool toys were there? Big wheel. I'm sure we all had a big wheel. They have big wheels in
Nope,
this.
I didn't.
You had a
Big
tricycle
machines.
though.
I had a regular old tricycle. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a tricycle too. We still had tricycles in the 70s. We had tricycles, and I'm trying to remember when did the big wheels start to come out? Was it the late 60s? They started coming out with those.
I remember by the time I started seeing them, I was too old to fit on one, but
Yeah.
it was all the rage. All the young kids, you know, as I was growing up, the younger kids all had them.
Mm. The one I wanted to they started coming out with when I was a kid was like the Power Wheels kind of things, but they were so expensive. And if you look at the Power Wheels now, the prices that they're charging for is like half of what they were charging for one in the late 70s. And back then, the dollar was worth a lot more than what it's worth now. So you figure, I mean, you probably paying for one in the late 70s, you probably think if you were to, rate it for inflation, it'd probably be 3 times as much as what one would cost now,
Yeah, toys from the 70s and the 80s, man. That was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's kind of like I asked
toys
my
were
dad. He had a color TV that we bought in 1970. I asked him what he paid for it, and he said, "Oh, it was about $700." And I'm looking back, thinking that had to have been a heck of a lot of money back in 1970.
Yeah, that's a couple paychecks right there.
Yeah,
Oh, you're lucky to make. You were living good on $200 a week back then. I mean, that was good money, you know.
Yeah, my wife's like, "You're crazy paying $70 on that Devastator set, the recreation one that I just got." I was like, "Do you realize that if I would have bought that in the 80s, it would have been each figure individually, and I would have paid about $100 in the 80s. Do you realize that would be like $150 to $200 now if I bought it that same way? I got it for half price." I told her.
heck yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of good toys that were $100 back in the 80s. The bigger Star Wars toys and stuff. I mean, you think about it now, and you look back, and that was like half of a paycheck for your parents one week, man.
According to
Toys.
Google Master Fu, in 1974, $900 would be the equivalent of like $4,500 in 2018.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. What really sucks is all the Black Cat out there saying he has all his old Star Wars toys and stuff. My brothers, thanks to my mother, destroyed all mine. They destroyed all my Transformers, all my Star Wars guys, my Ninja Turtles. They destroyed all that stuff because she let them go in my room and grab it and play with it when they were 4 or 5 years old, and it wasn't theirs, so they didn't care if they broke it or not. Some of those toys were unopened that she let them play with too. Was the first part.
Unopened Star Wars action figures are worth a ton of money.
So are unopened Transformers, man. You get the Gen 1, Gen 2 Transformers unopened. You see the prices on those things? It's like in a couple of $1,000s for like an unopened Gen 1 Optimus Prime. It's ridiculous. And I had ones that I would play with, and I had ones that I had left unopened. When I would buy my own, because we would get an allowance or do like odd jobs and whatnot to get money, I would buy one. I would buy 2 of each. Right? I bought one to play with and one that was the weird kid. But then I was what? I wasn't a little kid when these things came out. I think Transformers first came out was what 1984. I was 10 years old. So by the time, so 3 years after that, I was starting to get into my teens and stuff. So I was starting to understand the value of things. You know what I mean? So I would buy 2 of them, and I would have one to play with and one to put up. And
Yeah.
she let them play with the ones that I had that were to be put up for collection too. So it was like, come home from work one day and Transformers torn out all over the place, including, and you know damn well that she opened the ones because they each had one playing with it, you know? And it's not hard math to do. You got two little brothers, and each of them are playing with the same guy. You know, and then my other brother didn't have any of the Transformer stuff, so they couldn't have been playing with his and mine. No, they were all mine. Yeah. Or else, too bad he opened all of them. He could have funded an NFA purchase with Star Wars toys. I'll do you one better, RL. Just on my Transformers toys, I could have funded the purchase of a cheap machine gun. You know, I had a few $1,000s in Transformers, if in today's market, which
My dealer has the parts you need to make that AR full automatic. Totally legal too, the transferable, never been used. So I bought them like way back in the day and never installed them in anything. Brought them in there, sold them to the gun shop, and he was telling me about them. And I don't know what it is, if it's just the sear or if it's like the whole like fire control group or whatever it is. But they're not sure what they want for it yet. They're thinking anywhere between like 12 and 15,000 bucks
for what now?
for whatever it takes to make an AR full automatic.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be the fire control group, and then you have to have slight modification to your lower receiver. Black Cassini has the first 4 Transformer comics as a set from 1984. Don't know if they're worth anything. Yeah, they probably are. You might want to do some Google through there, especially if they're like in mint condition. They're probably going to be worth something. Depending on how many were published, anyway. Depends on how many were published and how many are still in circulation. It's always good to have that stuff appraised, especially if it's in really good condition, because you never know, you might have something that's valuable there on your hands. And some comic shops will do the appraisal for nothing. So just if you got anybody in your area that does that kind of appraisals, get in touch with them and have them look at it, and they'll be able to tell you for sure what it's worth. But just to get a quick idea, you can always look online because there's all kinds of places that have like price lists and stuff.
They flooded the market, like he was talking about with baseball cards and sports cards. Once they saw they were getting hot, they put out 70 different versions of every different kind of card, and then it just destroyed the value of all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, the first 4 issues of Transformers, I was right when they first came out with them, because the comics were out before the TV show and everything. So the comics made the first, especially the first 4 issues, like what he's saying he has. They may not have printed as many of them as they would have later ones, because of what the popularity hadn't taken off yet. So those ones might be worth something. So I'm saying the only way to know for sure is to actually take them and have them appraised. Yeah, I would definitely have those appraised and have somebody look at them and take a look. You might have something that's actually worth something there. So. I ain't got no comics that are actually worth anything either. Again, anybody want to take a wild guess why I don't have any comics that are worth anything?
Because you have two little brothers.
Two little brothers that my mother just let do whatever they wanted. I mean, I had Infinity Incorporated, which wasn't a super big title, but they were one of DC's set things that they did back in the '80s. That was they were basically the proteges or children of the Justice Society, not to be confused with the Justice League. The Justice Society predated the Justice League, and some of them would be worth money if they were in condition to be worth anything. Some of them, the covers are torn off and a bunch of other stuff because my mother let my brothers so-called read them. The one I ended up having to just throw it away because my one brother thought it was a coloring book. Anyway, anybody have anything else they wanted to discuss before I decide I want to kill my mother all over again for the umpteenth time? And yeah, now most of you know the situation with my mother and I, so this is find something else to talk about.
Did you watch the Steelers game?
I don't want to talk about it. But I did tell you that this would be the Cleveland's year. If they were going to beat the Steelers, this would be the year to do it, didn't I?
Yeah, but the game was one thing, but what about him taking his helmet off and hitting him with it?
Oh yeah, that guy is suspended indefinitely.
Oh yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. In case you guys don't know what we're talking about, Mason Rudolph, the Steelers quarterback, had his helmet ripped off of him by one of the Cleveland, was his linebacker?
Yeah.
Linebacker.
And
And
his defensive end.
and then he hit him with the helmet. He ripped it off of him and then hit him with it.
But you know, Rudolph started it though, man.
Doesn't matter if he started it. He didn't break the rules by taking the other guy's helmet off and hitting him in the head with it. I mean,
Well, when they were on the ground, Rudolph started. He tried to get the Cleveland guy's helmet off, and that's when the Cleveland guy acted like he was gonna punch him, and then he reached out and grabbed his face mask, and he did get his helmet off.
Yeah.
How'd they end up on the ground in the first place?
Yeah,
The dude hit him late and drug him to the ground. So
well, I'll say this: yeah, he like bear hugged him, and you could tell it was gonna be the last play of the game, and Myles Garrett wanted to get in one last good hit or something. You know what I mean? It was an unusual tackle, and it was enough to get the other dude, upset about it.
Well, the tackle in and of itself is enough to have a flag for roughing the quarterback.
look, I'm cool. I'm cool with all of it. All of it until he hit him with the helmet.
Yeah,
everything that I saw, late hit, face mat, all that can be dealt with fines and flags on the play. But then when you smack the guy in the head with the helmet, you're getting kicked out.
Yeah, they asked Mason Rudolph if he wanted to file criminal charges on the guy. The Cleveland Police Department contacted him about him filing charges, and he said no, that he wasn't going to file charges against him. That guy could be sitting in a jail cell right now.
Oh, sure. Well, look, he's lucky. Actually, if you see, there's that like padding on the neck, on the back of the helmet. That's what hit it. If Myles Garrett had hit his head, his skull with that helmet, he might as well have had like a sledgehammer, man. He could have cracked that guy's skull, like not just like cut you and you're bleeding or whatever. He could have actually cracked that man's skull. Myles Garrett's a big, huge person. He is bigger and stronger than all of us put together. And him swinging an object like that, that could be deadly. You know, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a Cleveland fan, and I'm not excusing him one bit for swinging that. You know, we've seen helmets get ripped off. If he'd have took it and like throwed it at his feet or something, you know, or threw it across the field at somebody, you know, and hitting the ground rolling, that's one thing. But he swung it like a club, man, like a weapon. And man, he's just real lucky he didn't hurt the guy.
Oh yeah, he's really lucky he didn't hurt him. If he actually would have hurt him to that point, Mason Rudolph wouldn't have had a choice in the matter. Charges would have been fouled anyway, because the league would have fouled the charges. I guarantee you. You know,
Yeah,
situation like
he's
that.
You know, he's like Cleveland's best player and all, but yeah, man, he's gone. I wouldn't be surprised if they just gave him a whole year or more to where he doesn't even play next year.
Yeah, well, they haven't decided yet. Like I said, he's out indefinitely. That was their statement. He is suspended indefinitely. That means he may never be back.
Yeah. Well, you know, they're good about forgiving a lot of things, but he's going to have to definitely pay the consequences for it for a while.
Yeah, I mean something like that. I mean, there's people intentionally low blowing somebody, or intentionally hitting somebody in the knee. You know, get this, that, and the other. Okay, that's recoverable. You can go get your knee fixed, come back again, and play. Okay, Vontez Perfect, if that were the case, would be out for the rest of his career. But that doesn't rise to the level of what the Cleveland player did by ripping off somebody's helmet and trying to hit them in the head with it. At that point, it's not a football play. That's after the play, and it's assault and battery at that point. And some creative prosecutor could potentially also, because of the size of the guy and how hard the helmet is, you could be facing an attempted murder charge as well. I mean, so the fact that Rudolph didn't press charges, one, says something maybe about Rudolph's character, and two, tells you this guy is goddamn lucky as hell that he's not sitting in a jail cell and possibly a prison cell for a few years, you know?
Well, you know, the Browns and the Steelers play again, 15 days? So that's going to be ugly again. It's always ugly between them. That game was pretty. There was a lot of helmet to helmets in that game, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah.
there usually
there's
is.
Going to be more. I wouldn't be surprised if there were more fines coming out of this game once all the hullabaloo from what happened at the end of the game settles down, you know? Because, I mean, that hit on Juju that knocked him out of the game, that was quite a questionable call there. You know, I mean, there were a few of that going on both sides. Both sides were guilty.
Well, they have for years, man. I've seen plenty of Cleveland players knocked cold out on the ground, and plenty of Steelers knocked cold out with these two.
Yeah, lately it's been pretty tame. I mean, this was the first real game that felt like a rivalry game between the Steelers and the Browns in a long time. Lately, it's been more. If you want to look at rivals with the Steelers, and look at the games, it's been more Baltimore and especially lately Cincinnati that's had that feel. This is the first time that the Cleveland game really had that feel to it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next game. That's for sure. If the NFL, with the NFL cracking down like it did, it might be a lot tamer than what this one was, because guys might not be wanting to try and risk a paycheck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I bet it'll be a chippy game. They might give them a good warning before the game, but I bet it's still going to get chippy.
Yeah, I don't think it's not going to be like the last game was. There's no way. I don't think they're going to be that stupid. If you had a Vontez Burfict out there, you remember Vontez Burfict from when he was with Cincinnati, right? That guy, I don't know how that guy's still in the league, to be perfectly honest with you. But I don't think we're going to rise to the level that the last game did. They're going to be chippy, and there might be some pushing and shoving after plays and that kind of stuff. But I don't think we're going to see anything like what we saw in this game. Yeah, Kingpin, you're absolutely right. 7 Wonders, that's a 5-minute rule comment right there, buddy. Remember, 5 minutes. Oh, man.
If he chose his words carefully, he failed.
Yeah, exactly. If that was choosing your words carefully, you might have run a rethink talking about the whole subject there.
All I know is the whole conversation in your chat room has gone, totally bonkers.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, is Weston still out there? If he is, I don't want to. I did have another topic, but if he's out there, because he is out there with his kids, I don't want to. With his kid, I don't want to bring up the next topic if he's still out there. So, is he still out there? Anybody know? I haven't seen him say anything since we were talking about toys. And my time. There's my timestamp. Stupid YouTube's switching things, turn my timestamps off. Yeah, last thing I saw him say was about the slot cars. That was 9:30, so I don't know if he's out there or not anymore. And not because there was something that RL said just brought this to mind, and it's not kid friendly really. But he hasn't said anything. He hasn't replied to Kingpin, so he may not be up there anymore.
If he is, hopefully he's wearing earbuds.
Yeah. Well, does anybody here watch Steven Crowder?
No.
Yeah, I have before.
I have. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did either of you see the video he just did on pornography?
No.
No.
Okay. He put up a study that shows that 1 in 10 10-year-olds right now are watching internet pornography. Let that sink in. 1 in 10 10-year-olds. How many 10-year-olds would you say possibly are in the United States?
Weston is out there.
Okay. Well, we've already gone down this rabbit hole, but hopefully his kid's not listening. Or if we're not going to go into raunchiness or not, anything like that. But, so we got 1 in 10 10-year-olds. So if you get if there's just say there's 1 million 10-year-olds, right? That's 100,000 10-year-olds that are watching pornography on a daily basis. I just.
Okay, how did he come up with these numbers?
I don't know what I don't know. He had the study. He had the study from. It was a credible source. It was one of those pediatrics institutes that do all those kinds of things with kids. And apparently they gave these kids like a survey or something, and that's how they came up with the numbers. And it was a blind survey, so the kids wouldn't have their names, wouldn't be known to anybody or anything like that, or something along those lines. We used to take those kind of things when I was in school. I don't know if you did or not, but they would ask you if you this, that, and the other. You would basically, have you ever had sexual relations before? And you would tick the box, yes or no, but nobody would know who was that gave the answers. It was done. It was actually done with the bubbles. Remember the standardized test with the bubbles? You would fill in the bubble, so they couldn't even tell from your handwriting who it was, right? So I'm assuming it's probably done something like that, since they said it was the kids were surveyed, but 1 in 10 10-year-olds. Have things gone too far?
I could totally believe that. I mean, there's stories of, 10, 11-year-old girls getting pregnant.
Oh yeah,
And that's been years. I mean, it's been going on for years. So
yeah. When we lived in the town, a girl that was a couple years older than my oldest daughter, when she was 11, got pregnant by somebody who was 15 or 16 at the time. So, but yeah. Anybody have any thoughts on this one? We have Stacy. So. Yeah, we're good.
that's if they get younger and younger and younger.
Yeah, but in the old days, didn't women get married at like 16 years old and stuff?
Oh, even younger, I think, too.
Yeah, there was some. 13 generally was the age of where marrying would take place. It was usually around puberty when you would start hitting a couple years. Puberty, your year after that was the usual. So you're looking around 12 or 13 was usually the standard age.
You don't worry about them finishing school because most of them never went to high school anyway.
Mm-hmm.
High school is something rich people got to do.
My husband is definitely working on getting tased. Apparently, he's listening to the conversation. He texts me and says, "What were you doing at that age?" I said, "I wasn't that young."
Yeah, think, man. When we were 10 years old, there was no such thing as internet pornography. If we saw anything along those lines, it would have been like sneaking into your parents' room and maybe seeing a Playboy that was hidden underneath the mattress. Or
I'm gonna say, unless you spent the night at a friend's house and you guys broke into his parents' room and got their Playboys out and read them.
Yeah,
that's about it.
That was nowhere near like what you would see on the internet. I mean, good Lord.
No.
Well, I remember one time,
read all the.
When I lived in California, and I don't remember don't even remember how old I was, 11, 12, maybe, I don't know, maybe younger, of switching through channels and, Playboy channel. They had the Playboy channel. And I remember seeing it, putting on that channel and thinking, what in the world? But, so, I mean, they had Playboy channel back in the 80s or so.
Yeah, Playboy channel is tamed by what you see on the internet these days. I mean,
no.
And Weston there said, when I was 10, the best he could do was the Sears catalog bra section. Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because that's one of the things Crowder brought up. He's like, he can remember when he was like 10 or 11 looking through the Sears catalog, hoping to see a nipple slip. Yeah. When we got to high school, it was like my friend sneaking into his parents' room and getting his dad's VHS out, sneaking one of his dad's VHS tapes out of the drawer. You didn't have, but man, that was like 16 or 17. That wasn't, when we weren't doing that when we were 10. Like, holy cow. Yeah, he also brings up the Victoria's Secret catalogs. Yeah, or even some of those women's magazines, man. They had some interesting pictures of some of those women's magazines. Believe it or not.
I can still remember when I was in high school and the hot picture was that one of Farrah Fawcett in the
Oh, that-
swimsuit.
Oh, good choice, Gizzy. I used to have T-shirts with the picture ironed on. Remember the iron-on shirts with their coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, how about them National Geographics?
Oh, dude, you're terrible.
Yeah. Leave it to my wife to be the first one to say a bad word on the show tonight. And then she's
Although the
Yeah.
conversation, I mean, and in here and in the chat's not too much better.
That's true.
You and Jason want to talk about those little mini guns that you were talking about earlier?
but we weren't swearing. I mean, we were keeping it family friendly, even though we were talking about a subject that's really not. But yeah, if you want to talk about those little mini 22s, we can talk about those.
And what's healthcare? That's the problem now, right there.
I don't know anything about it. It'd be between everybody else. I was just figuring that that'd be something you guys, because it seems pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we can talk about those. I think we talked about them before on the show, haven't we? Back when they were first having those show up at SHOT Show last year, or actually earlier this year. But yeah, that's how close we are to the next SHOT Show that I'm calling it SHOT Show last year. Holy cow!
Yeah, it's not far away.
No. And Midnight wants to know if I had trouble setting up the show. No, didn't have any trouble Midnight, none at all.
Yeah, I ran on Chamber Friday night. Now I did have it go offline on me halfway through the show, but I just restarted it.
I got my gun tube package in the mail yesterday. That was
Yeah, I
a
haven't
very
got
nice
mine
gun
yet.
tube t-shirt.
It's not mine. I'm telling you.
Either Gary's learned how to purr or George is sitting on his lap.
It's George. He's up on my lap, yeah. I've been gone for a day, so he's kind of glad I'm home.
Have any of you tried the Hostess pumpkin cupcakes that they have?
Mm-mm.
Limited edition thing that they just put out for like Christmas and Thanksgiving.
No.
They are, if you like a pumpkin cake, like a pumpkin roll or something like that, they are good. They are really good. Picked up a box like 2 days ago, I think it was. Ooh, they are nice and pumpkiny. They're not pumpkin spice; they are actual pumpkin. Well, I guess Jason's not going to tell us about his 22.
Oh, the mini Mosin.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
I
Kingpin
got
was
it.
talking
Yeah.
about.
It should have a website pulled up on it, but yeah, I ordered one a long time ago. My dealer actually had to contact Keystone to get it, and they let him get like 3 or 4 of them. and I got one with the crate box. I don't have it paid off yet. It'll be another week or two, but it is extremely miniature and it's pretty close. They did a lot of things just exactly like. I mean, it's got the barrel bands on the stock, you know, the upper stock and the lower stock on the hand guards. It's got the same kind of rings and the same kind of attachments and the markings and everything on it, man. It's pretty cool. Of course, the little box magazine, well, is fake and everything on it. But other than that, it's really small, man. And I swear, it's only about like an inch wide, but it's pretty cool. It's got like a 8 to 10 pound trigger on it. Oh yeah, Weston asked if I got to pick my serial numbers. That's the cool thing about the one I got. No, I didn't get to pick the serial numbers. My dealer did, and he got like 3 or 4 in a row. And the one that I got matches my birthday. So that's like cool, man. I never thought I'd ever get a gun that like the only numbers on it is the same numbers as your birthday.
And the really cool thing, because you got the commemorative one, which has the wooden crate and everything. For those of you who out there who don't know this, this is going to be one in a series of rifles, and every time they come out with them, Jason is going to have first crack at that serial number in the future releases as well. So if they come out with one that's in 1903, he'll be able to get that one with that serial number. If they come out with a Mauser, you'll be able to get that one in that serial number. If they come out with a Arisaka, he'll be able to get that one with that serial number. And if they come out with in the future, he's be able to get it with that exact serial number. So his whole set will have matching serial numbers, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, even, you know, like I said, I just thought that was special. It came out my birthday, man. I just couldn't be happier with that. I want to eventually have the whole set of 4. So yeah, they're more just a collector's neat thing than they probably really are a shooter. But, I think they're pretty cool, and I've never even looked at cricket rifles in before, really, or anything. But I got the little catalog book, and man, they got some pretty cool little rifles for kids, man. They got
Yeah.
like miniature Barretts and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, what's really cool about this, like, if you have real little kids and you got like a Mosin, and they keep wanting to shoot daddy's rifle, but a little kid is not going to be able to handle a Mosin. But you got that 22 Mosin now. You could be out there shooting your full size Mosin, and they could be out there shooting the little 22.
Yeah. My problem is I do have a 9130 Mosin, and I'm afraid I'd have to like if the next one comes out, it's the Springfield or something. I'm gonna have to go find a real Springfield to match my Keystone.
Uh-oh.
Some of them might not be too hard to get, but some of them might be pretty hard to get hold of.
You might be able to get a hold of a CMP 1903. I don't know if they're bringing those in next. You might be able to get a hold of one of them. Uh-oh. Seven's at it again. He just retracted his statement and then said that it was a 5-minute rule comment. What did you do, Seven?
So you can't ask him that because then that violates the 5-minute rule.
No, he doesn't have to do the 5-minute rule if I ask him. Obviously, it doesn't. The 5-minute rule.
I'll give him credit for retracting the comment. Way to go, Seven.
Yes, he did retract it. Unlike previously, he actually retracted that one. If he was still going along the food thing, I don't want to know. I don't know if we really want to know what he was saying. He might have been talking about eating something that's not family friendly, so we'll just let it go with that. And Jason over there is choking to death now. Wasn't that funny, man? Come on. No. He's not the sun snob anymore, Night Strike. He's now the food snob because of his comment earlier. He's the food snob. How dare he not like Hostess cupcakes? You monster! Yes, if you're not like Seven Wonders and you will actually eat Hostess snack cakes and you like pumpkin, try the cupcakes. I don't know what to do with you, Seven. I don't know what to do with you anymore. What do we do with this guy? Hostess are he doesn't need any of that kind of stuff, Night Strike. And Twinkies are Hostess. He doesn't need any of that kind of stuff, man. It's what he said. Oh, by the way, speaking of Twinkies, for the holiday season, they have chocolate mint Twinkies. It's chocolate cake with mint cream filling in there. They're good too.
Nice Strike says blasphemy.
I think he's saying blasphemy about Seven Wonders not eating like the Hostess stuff because they're not organic. Didn't they used to have like organic Hostess cupcakes and stuff before Hostess went out of business and then was bought out by another company and brought back? I thought I saw something like that before where they had the organic ones. None of the stores around here have an organic section. So I don't know.
How is it even possible to have an organic Twinkie?
Yeah, I think everything about a Twinkie is like fake, isn't it? There's not anything real.
Well, they use like organic flour.
Makes them so good.
The whole organic thing's a scam anyway. I mean, organic means alive. If it was a living thing, it's organic. I mean, even a GMO, guess what? It was alive. You know what that makes it? Organic. So I mean, the whole organic thing's a scam anyway. It's just a way to get people to pay more money for food.
Boo.
Boo. Wrong holiday, man. You're a month late.
Oh, right. Oh.
No, now you're a month early. Gobble, man.
Gobble, I guess. I don't know. Shit.
Oh, Night
Must
Strike's the second person. You're the second person to swear on the show tonight. The first was my wife. You're the second. And you both said the same word.
Well, you know, all I have to say to that is I have to quote our friend over here and say, give them the bird.
Bird is a word.
So, what do you have to say to that?
I have to say that Seven Wonders, you're doing it wrong, man. He said, yeah, I could easily eat a box of Ho-Hos or Twinkies, but I choose not to. I'm letting tobacco and alcohol take me slowly. Dude, alcohol and tobacco are going to do it faster than Ho-Hos or Twinkies.
It's
Yes,
blasphemy.
You got your priorities in the wrong spot, man.
When they stopped making Twinkies for a while, I cried. I really did. Because you know, normally I don't eat Twinkies and I don't get boxed of Twinkies, but I had a craving for Twinkies and you couldn't find them because they weren't making them anymore.
So are we supposed to call you Tallahassee now?
I do like myself Twinkies, and I do hate snowballs.
Okay.
When they first came back out onto the market, when they started making them again,
I got a box.
there's a Hostess factory not far from here in Kansas, and I was able to go in and get some of the first run when they come back out, and they were going like hotcakes.
They were.
Now, have you tried the mint chocolate Twinkies that they have for Christmas and Thanksgiving?
No, I gotta go get a box of those.
I'm gonna now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. Another one, Hostess pumpkin cupcakes.
Ooh.
They're
Okay.
good.
I'm gonna have to make a run to Walmart. Damn you!
And they actually for the holiday season only, they have the Hostess yellow cupcakes too.
And while you're in Walmart, pick up a Red Ryder BB gun too.
Yep, because they got a bunch of those too.
Yeah, I'm not a BB gun fan, so
No, you
But
gotta get
if-
the Red Ryder.
What's
Everybody has
wrong
the
with
Red Ryder in
you?
their house because of Toy Story. Not Toy Story, the
I'm
Christmas.
not. I've got actual firearms. I don't need a BB gun.
That's what
No,
starts
this
the
isn't just a
addiction,
BB
though.
gun, man. It's a Red Ryder. You shoot your eye out, kid. Come on.
You didn't have one of those when you was a kid? Come on.
No, my parents weren't really. They weren't really BB gun fans then.
Well, see, now there's your perfect reason why you need to get one.
So
You couldn't
much,
have it as a kid,
So-
and now you can.
so much fun out in the yard. Heck yeah.
Well, you know, someone got a package yesterday, didn't he, Jason?
Didn't he?
Yes, I did, man. Appreciate that a lot, man. It's pretty nice stuff in there.
I'm sure Gary got the same package.
I've got no package yet.
Curse the U.S. Postal System.
Yeah, so I take it, Night Strike, you've never had the pleasure of going camping with your grandfather and shooting beer cans as he's emptying them, you're shooting them? Or in the case of my brother, you're shooting it as he's emptying it? My brother and my cousin, when they were shooting the beer cans, right? I was doing something at the time. I couldn't, so I wasn't doing shooting. I was doing something else. But I hear my grandfather just say, "You got that one. You got that one. You got that one." Right?
Nah, both of my grandfathers
No, let me finish the story.
didn't go camping.
He goes to pick up his beer that he had just cracked open. He picks up the can of beer and it's empty. My brother and my cousin weren't shooting the ones that were set up down range. They were shooting the one he was drinking from.
Oh boy.
Let's just say he wasn't happy.
I've told you this before, but you had one hell of a dysfunctional family.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, of course you're not. After what I've heard about your family. Damn. But no, both of my grandfathers weren't really that big into camping so much. And I think that's attributed to one of my grandfathers. He was originally his family were originally farmers, so I think he kind of wanted to get away from the outdoors entirely. I mean, he used to hunt every now and then, but he stopped. And no, my other grandfather was from New York, so you know, figure that one out. He would rather go to the casino instead of hunting, or camping. So that's what I had to deal with.
Well, used to go to the horse races with my stepfather.
That is the one thing I did go and do with dad's dad, my grandfather. Basically, in Phoenix, we used to have dog tracks. They used to greyhounds used to race.
Yeah.
And I would always go with my grandfather when he wanted to go to the dog track and just bet on the races and just kind of watch the races. So I went with him.
Were they chasing that little electronic rabbit?
They were. So, I mean, there were other times where we'd go to this one bar where you could bet on the races and whatnot, where you didn't have to actually go into the actual arena or whatever it's called.
Off-site betting.
Yeah, we used to do that. And he'd get either beer or some coffee or something. I'd get some fries and a drink, and we just watch the races. So that was fun.
Yeah,
And then all the Libbies moved from California to Arizona, and they had to get rid of the races.
It's cruelty to animals. Yeah, I know.
You know what's cruel? Killing your kids because you're vegan because they're malnourished. That's cruel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Anyway.
Kingpin's out there telling Seven Wonders he's doing a good job as far as the 5-minute rule. After that first slip, maybe.
Did you just say that people are killing their kids because they're vegans? Is that what you said?
Yeah. There was there's a news article I saw today where basically a couple were vegan and their child died because it was their kid was malnourished because they tried to have their children adopt the vegan lifestyle, and the mugshots of both the parents, they almost look like crackheads. They're that thin.
Oh, all right. Because at first, when I first heard it, it sounded like, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm a vegan," and then they killed their kid.
No.
You just mean that they weren't. Okay, I got it.
The child died of malnourishment because the family was vegan.
Yeah, it was a neglect situation, not an intentional situation.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I said, it's still just as punishable by prison time, but different crime to be charged with. That's a willful neglect situation there. They'll be charged with at least manslaughter, most likely.
Yeah.
Anyway, have you heard any of the topics we discussed earlier?
No.
Any of them? No?
Other than berating Seven for not being a Twinkie guy.
Okay, that's the only thing that you've heard? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to give you a chance if you were listening. You just weren't able to join until now to voice your opinions on anything else we talked about, but since you weren't able to.
Don't worry about it. I just came in here to derail the chat,
Yeah, we've actually spoken about it quite a lot tonight. That wasn't just us rambling. We actually had topics that we were talking about.
Whoa. You're not allowed to have topics.
Yeah, well, we did. We did. The last one that somehow led into the food chat was about 10-year-olds watching pornography. Yeah.
I don't even.
Yeah, there was a study that came out that said 1 in 10-year-olds watch pornography on the internet. Mm-hmm.
And if we're gonna go and throw out baseless studies like that, every 3 out of 5 anti-gunners kill their children.
But no, this wasn't a baseless study. This was an actual legit study that was done.
Was it?
Yeah. This was one of the one. This was something that Steven Crowder talked about earlier this week.
I don't like him for some reason. I don't know why.
Midnight sent his links out, by the way.
Did he? Well, he was having trouble earlier, so I wasn't sure when he was going to send his links out. Anyway, if Midnight sends his links out, that means it's about time for us to start wrapping this up. So let's see, who was the first one in here tonight? That would have been Jason Stewart. So we'll start in reverse order of the last person who jumped in. So you got anything you want to plug, Night Strike?
Check out guntube.org. Check out GunTube Chamber, and check out Night Strike 1 on YouTube because, hey, guess what? I'm giving away a lower parts kit. Check it out.
Cool. Have you got GunTube back up and running? Is everything back to normal yet? Or
I am in the process of redoing everything on the GunTube. I'm trying to get everything back up to snuff. It's not. I haven't restored every single account yet. I'm working on that because I'm having an issue with the emails. So once I get that locked down, I will let everyone know.
Okay.
But we're still. I really should put up a sign on GunTube saying, work in progress.
Yeah, one of those work in progress, excuse our dust kind of things.
Really, it's really because I'm always working on it for some reason.
Well, it's something new. I mean, it takes a while to get the bugs worked out,
Yeah.
So. All right. Yep, no problem. Gary, anything you want to plug?
Let's see. Check out my website, gizzardgary.com. Foul Territory every Friday night, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Also, I released a video from Wanamaker this past week. I got another one coming out this week, so look for those. And thanks for the invite.
Yep, no problem. Next, we have Stacy. Anything you want to plug?
Just thanks for having me. Everybody needs to check out everybody that was on the panel. They're awesome people. So, and I guess if you want, you can check out the Snob, though. I don't know why.
I don't know why you do that.
Yeah.
All right.
All of you.
All right, Kingpin, got anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I'd like to plug Oklahoma's own Gun Snob, one of the best channels on YouTube and Instagram. So there.
Suck up.
Are you hoping that he'll get you Kimber? Is that what this is?
Well, Kimber's for Karen.
And it's kind of funny. I might actually be getting him a Kimber. I heard him mention wanting a Kimber Micro 9, and I happen to have a friend that's selling one.
Ooh.
Hey, now I thought you were supposed to be on my side on getting a Kimber, not him.
Yeah, she wanted a Bel Air.
He doesn't have a Bel Air.
No, but what's going to happen is Snob's going to get that Kimber Micro 9, and then he's going to Cerakote it to look like a Bel Air and say, "Here's your Bel Air."
No.
That's what he's going to do.
That's exactly what he's going to do. I can see it now.
I don't know if he can get that perfect chrome color that it has.
He'd Cerakote it. They got chrome Cerakoted, trust me.
All right, then moving on. Jason, you got anything you want to plug?
No, just everybody check out the Unloaded Media channel. And thanks for having me. And hope you get feeling better.
Yeah. Slowly getting back to normal. And with that, we shall bid you all adieu. And be sure to go over and check out Midnight's show, The Closer. Kingpin, you're missing your mark here, man. Come on.
Boosh!
Thank you, sir.
And we will see you next week. But good night, folks. This is where you say your taglines.
Shall not be infringed! That's a calf rope. I ain't got no tagline.
Orange Man good.
Man, Kingpin's really wanting Stacy to take a taser to him at this point.
I'm starting to rethink who's going to get tased.
battery will be dead before you get here.
Is that a challenge?
As a matter of fact, it is.
You know, everybody's still hearing this, right? Because I haven't.
Yeah. How do you turn this damn thing off?
Fighting words.
Yeah, don't forget you got to turn it off in both places.
I'm well aware. I'm sitting here on YouTube just listening to this before I hit end screen.
And for Gary, give him the bird.
Yes, Gary left before he got a chance to do his catchphrase. Well, anyway, bye-bye, and don't be in the cold box. That's bad. You ruin food, no good. There's people in China that would eat that food, mister.